With this episode, we've passed the Famicom's 10th birthday. It will not live to its 11th. Puyo Puyo's the game we're celebrating with, and it might not be the Puyo Puyo that you're familiar with. Puyo Puyo actually started as a disk system game. In fact, it was the third to last disk system game released back in 1991. Sega saw the incredibly obscure game and said, hey, maybe there's something to this. They had developer Compile create a whole new game that was also titled Puyo Puyo. And that became one of the monster arcade hits of 1992. That version was quickly ported to the Mega Drive and Game Gear, and they were pretty big successes on those platforms. Well, Compile had a perfectly good Puyo Puyo game just sitting around, so why not release it on the Famicom? I mean, other than it's 1993. This is Compile's final Famicom game, and while they didn't do a whole lot on the system, they were a pretty significant developer at the time. They acted as a contract developer, doing a lot of work for Sega for the most part. And on the Famicom, their first game was a port of their computer game, Lunar Ball. As a contract developer, they made some really awful stuff. Their City Adventure Touch is regarded as one of the worst Famicom games. But they also had their triumphs like Guardiac Gaiden. That was a game that leaned into Compile's strengths at the time, since in the late 80s they really started focusing on shoot-em-ups. The Famicom wasn't a great platform for the genre by that point, but Compile did release Gun-Knack for it, one of the best shoot-em-ups on the system. But as much as I'd like to talk about Compile's shoot-em-ups, this is Famidaily, not PCE Mania. And this very last Famicom game is the success that overruns the company. In 1994, 3/4 of the games that Compile works on are Puyo Puyo games. And that massive franchise all starts here, or at least a version of here. Puyo Puyo offers a few different modes of play. The default is endless. You just have pieces come until eventually it reaches the top of the well. It also offers 2 different tile sets. The default is the familiar jellies, and the alternate option are people. You also have your choice of 2 different kinds of special pieces that could drop. In Puyo Puyo, you have a well similar to Tetris, and pieces drop in 2 at a time. You can rotate these pieces by hitting A and B, and drop them at a high speed by pressing down. Your goal is to link up 4 pieces of the same color. If you do so, they'll vanish, and everything above them will fall. And those falling pieces could link up, connecting 4 or more again, making those vanish, and so on. The real heart of Puyo Puyo is the chain reactions. A chain reaction like that gets you a lot more points, but it's useful in other ways too. The Big Puyo is a special piece in this game, and it will cover 2 columns. Wherever it lands gets smashed flat, destroying all of the pieces below it. The other special piece is the carbuncle. It has a color, and after it touches down, it will fall straight down through other pieces, turning those pieces to its color. Endless mode starts out pretty slow, and you only have 4 colors of pieces that fall. The game speeds up quickly as you eliminate pieces, but then it will reset to the slowest speed with 1 more color mixed in. And then that pattern repeats. Mission mode is more of a puzzle mode. Rather than trying to survive, you have a goal to complete on every stage. Get rid of all the colorless blocks, for example, or make a chain of a certain length. You get rid of colorless blocks by removing regular pieces that are adjacent to them. If you complete a mission, then you'll go to the next stage, and you'll get a password that will let you pick up from there. Mission mode was actually spun off to its own sub-series of Puyo Puyo, the Nazo Puyo games. But the real magic, the thing that made Puyo Puyo take off, is the 2-player mode. 2-player mode plays similar to endless mode, though you can set a maximum length for the game. When you're playing 2-player mode, eliminating pieces will cause clear blocks to drop on your opponent's side. If you just do 4 pieces by themselves, maybe 1 colorless block will drop. But if you do a large group with multiple chains, then you'll completely flood your opponent. In the original Puyo Puyo, you can only play this mode against another human being. It was Sega's version that introduced the idea of playing it against an AI. In Japan, this version of Puyo Puyo seems to be a footnote. People will go, I didn't know this version exists. It sure does look weird. I get that. This is Puyo Puyo before it became Puyo Puyo. The elements of Puyo Puyo are all here, but not quite in the form that you think they should be. Nothing is quite right, which makes this version of Puyo Puyo only historically interesting. If you're going to play Puyo Puyo, you're going to play one of the other 150 versions out there. That's not an exaggeration, I just wanted to stop counting eventually. The basic game concepts are good. Puyo Puyo became a classic for a reason. It has the elegant simplicity that you find in the best puzzle games. Concepts where it barely takes a minute and a half to explain everything in the game, and then the challenge comes in what spins out of them. I did think that this version of Puyo Puyo sped up a bit too quickly. It's not a gentle ramp up of speed here. It's really only 4 steps ranging from super relaxing chill pace to Puyo Puyo Grandmaster pace. A bit more of a gradient there would have been appreciated. And I don't think the power-ups really come back in any version of Puyo Puyo. They weren't really well thought out and don't add a whole lot here. Fortunately, you can turn those off. In the end though, you're not playing this version of Puyo Puyo unless you're doing some kind of deep dive into a platform or the series. It's still a good game to play, but you could play much better versions of Puyo Puyo on literally anything electronic you have in your house.